Greetings, everyone. You are welcome to a new webinar of the Transforming Parliament series promoted by the IPU Center for Innovation in Parliaments. It is a partnership between the Parliamentary Data Science Hub, coordinated by me from Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, and the IT Governance Hub, coordinated by Ludovic Delepine from the European Parliament. Today, we will focus on artificial intelligence in the legislative process. You will know real cases of AI, which were distributed in two phases, two roundtables. In the first one, you will see AI used for bill drafting and amendment analysis. And in the second roundtable, we will show you we will have a few discussions, actually, regarding AI used for voice-to-text transcription. And before everything, before the roundtables, I would like to invite Fotis Fitsilis from Hellenic Parliament to give us an overview about what can be done with AI in the whole legislative process, according to his researches. Fotis holds a PhD in computer engineering. He has over 20 years working in the science positions within both the private and the private sector. Since 2009, he is head of the Department of Scientific Documentation and lead researcher at the Scientific Service of the Hellenic Parliament. In 2017, he founded the Hellenic OCR team, a crowdsourcing initiative for the study of parliamentary data. Fotis, you're very welcome. Please feel free to take your floor.
Thank you, Patricia. Dear colleagues, it's a great honor to be part of this exciting seminar. We have been thinking a lot what this introduction would be about. And since my colleagues later on will be giving hands-on examples of what AI is capable of, we were thinking about presenting some scenarios, some future scenarios of applications. And this is based on our current research for the European Commission. Now, the European Commission has a certain, let's say, approach towards this, and it does not call these features artificial intelligence tools or artificial intelligence solutions. It calls them smart functionalities, because the idea is that they will be likely embedded in different systems on different platforms. Now, during our research, which will be published in a couple of months in early 2024, we have come around a few categories of these smart functionalities. And I would like to present a few examples in the remaining minutes that might be interesting for you to serve as an inspiration when thinking and redesigning your systems. There have been mainly 7 different categories identified, and I will be mentioning only a single example per category because we don't have enough time. Overall, we have identified 34 smart functionalities in 7 categories. Interestingly, the European Commission does not limit the placing of artificial intelligence solely in the legal drafting, let's say, sector. It sees it employed and assessed throughout the policy making cycle, from the beginning of policy inception till the very end of the publication process and the feedback, and starting from the start again with amendments in the legislative process. So let's start briefly with the first category, which is the discovery of patterns and practices. And the idea here is to have a tool. It can be a natural language processing tool or a generative AI that automatically extracts metadata from the legal text as it is developed. You know this maybe from the semantic level of these texts of legal informatics. If you don't have a semantic layer, an AI might be useful to extract automatically metadata. Another interesting aspect or another interesting feature of artificial intelligence in the policy dimension is what we have been working on, and it has been quite difficult to do, is to measure the impact of a legislative act. You know how difficult it is. It is really painful. Sometimes it's even really problematic. So we have been utilizing different tools and approaches and different databases, official databases with governance data, usually validated, in order to conduct certain calculations to come up with different results for any provision that can be measured in terms of specific with specific indexes and specific measurable results. Another very interesting tool that we've been thinking and working on, it is of course in the realm of verification. This means that you already have some sort of text, some sort of legal provision, and you want to validate it against some rules. So usually we have some other people, higher ranking or different, that do this cross-check. An artificial intelligence tool could indeed help us provide support and assistance to show sometimes if we are divergent vis-a-vis some standards that have been set. Very important is the category about linguistic support. You all are probably very experienced there. Linguistics and legal language in general is a sector that needs to be taken very seriously. Here we are talking about tools that can again assess the text we are drafting, usually in real time, and provide recommendations. These recommendations that do not come from the sky. Usually we have trained the system with some sort of with existing documents, with some guides, English style guide or any other linguistic style guide, and the text can be checked towards these existing documents. Another one, the sixth category, is about legal assistant, and that's a little bit vague. What one might understand when it comes to legal assistance. So we have been working on a tool that is called a detection tool. A detection tool to detect different types of provisions. Is this an obligation? Is this a right? Is this a permission? Is this a penalty? It is not too difficult with artificial intelligence to detect what this the passage one writes is all about. And then the next step, which might not be so straightforward, is maybe the system, based on, again, on the training it has been done, to provide a set of similar provisions so that one can check if the provision one writes is according to what the drafter has in mind, or maybe there have to be amendments or any other different approaches. Last but not least, we have been identifying, and this is probably the holy grail, a whole category which is called nothing short of automatic legal drafting. Here we have generative AI, ChatGPT, Llama, and too many of them as well on the market, free, open source or not. So the idea is here, again, to use some sort of generative AI to draft complete provisions according, not from scratch. I don't think that this will be the case, but using some sort of prompt engineering. That's the approach that we're thinking currently, to guide the system, provide a first solid draft based on which human intellect will then do the rest. This is what we've been working on. We will finalize this research pretty soon, in the next couple of months, hopefully also publish it on the European Commission channels. And of course, through the IPU, you will receive all this information soon enough. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Fotis. Thank you for giving us this overview, and looking forward to see the final version of your research. And before the first roundtable, I would like to invite all the participants to feel free and leave your questions in the chat while the presentations and the roundtables are going on. Please, your questions are very welcome. And if possible, identify yourself in your parliament before the question, right? Thank you. Starting our first roundtable regarding bill drafting and amendment analysis, I would like to invite our first presenter, Giovanni Ciccone from Italian Chamber of Deputies. Giovanni is Master of Science in Computer Engineering with a focus on natural language processing research on social media data. After an experience in the private sector, Giovanni transitioned to the Italian Chamber of Deputies. Currently, working at the IT department, he coordinates the digital transformation of the legislative services. Giovanni, you're very welcome. Please feel free to take your floor.
Hello to everybody, and thank you, Patricia, for introducing me. Now I'll try to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So today I'll talk about artificial intelligence for drafting and amendment analysis. This is a study case from Italian Chamber of Deputies. Let's start from our business need. We had one problem: make the amendments reordering process more efficient. What is the context? Amendments are digitally presented by members using a web platform, and then committees staff needs to reorder amendments. This for each bill article, because at the beginning amendments are ordered by presentation order. So this is the order of our web platform presentation. Instead, committee need to have amendment ordered by the voting order. So until 2020, this activity was done manually. So this means that amendments were printed, numbered, grouped by article, and ordered manually. This means that all the activities were done by hand and with printed paper. Then we introduced a digital reordering with some artificial intelligence components to renew legislative process and make the process more efficient. Some technicality about our solution. We decided to use Python language with the Flask micro framework to implement RESTful API. We deployed the solution as a Docker container by using our DevOps platform. Here under, you can see some references on our data science libraries. These libraries are pretty common in artificial intelligence field, like Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn, Gensim, Spazi, and Beautiful Soup. Okay, so here you can see the solution diagram about the solution of amendment reordering. As you can see here, we have a graphical user interface, which is a drafting module used by colleagues of committees and plenary sessions. This graphical user interface interacts via RESTful Web Service API with our modules. Modules regarding natural language processing, semantic distance, and ranking. Ranking is about the criterion used to produce the final amendment reordering by voting order. Instead, here you can see the training architecture, the inputs for model training, where the amendments dossier, text of bills, and open data, which is a Wikipedia dump for Italian language. The output of model training is formed by model files, which are used by our semantic distance module. Some information, interesting information about the training is that we executed model training offline, and for the moment, we did not implemented batch automatic model training, but it can be a possible evolution. Here is a screenshot of our graphical user interface with the button to compute the reordering task. And here you can find the 2 examples of Italian Chamber of Deputies amendments. So inputs are formed by amendment dossier to be ordered and the text of corresponding bill. Instead, outputs are list of amendments ordered according voting order. And then for each amendment, we have metadata, the list of identical amendments identified by star. This is a syntax of Italian legislative sector, and list of similar amendments. For this task, we use semantic distance, so artificial intelligence module. And for each similar amendment, we have ID and similarity score. Some brief information about data preprocessing. We have a technical part in order to pass from raw data to structured data, and then a more analytical part of preprocessing with reference to grammatical, logical, and pattern identification. As natural language processing module, we implemented tokenizers to identify sentences, part of speech taggers to identify subject, verbs, and other part of speech. Then extraction of entity and keyword, and the most important one is formed by regular expressions that are used to identify amendment syntax. Word embedding. What is word embedding? Is the representation of our natural language words with vectors. And this is very useful because this allow to have a geometric representation of semantics. This means that near vectors stand for words, terms with similar semantics. So we can represent in a quantitative way the texts. So we can compare them using metrics like Euclidean distance and cosine similarity. Moreover, we can group amendments using clustering techniques like k-means, dbscan, and hierarchical. So word embedding is one fundamental element for our project, and we decided to use word2vec algorithm. Some notes about artificial intelligence model training. We did the first training in 2020 before the release in production environment. Then we retrain the model for the second time in 2022 with the reference to Italian general election. And we used all build texts of both 17th and 18th legislature and, as already told, Wikipedia dump to learn rules of Italian language. As a semantic distance, we decided to use word2vec, and we implemented the semantic distance to compute similarities among amendments. This is very useful for back office management because colleagues need to know which are similar amendments for a semantic point of view, and also to compute similarity between amendment text and build text partition as a reordering criterion. Here you can see an example of identification of similar proposal with the score. Some indicator about execution time. In this case, we have a bit less than 2,000 amendments, and the execution time for reordering was of 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So in the previous process, we needed hours or 1 day for reorder amendments. Now the execution time is about a minute. So we have a great improvement. Some feedback and KPIs. We have analytical indicators only for execution time. We have qualitative feedback about accuracy. This is the feedback provided by our colleagues of committees. We conceived artificial intelligence as suggestions provided by the machine to the users, but we prepared a graphical user interface that allows users to drag and drop amendments to refine the final ordering according to their experience and judgment. This is an example of business rules used by us for the reordering. As you can see, it's a pretty complex file. Some final information about purchase and public procurement. We had a partnership with one of the biggest Italian IT companies. The first contract was signed in December 2019, first production release 2020. After that, we have annual contracts for evolutive and corrective maintenance. Thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you so much for so many details that you shared. Thank you. Our second presenter is Carlo Marchetti from Italian Senate. Carlo holds a PhD in computer science and has a background in both the private sector as consultant and in academia as professor. Since 2008, as head of the Information System Development Office, has been responsible for overseeing the development of these systems, supporting parliamentary activities and institutional communications. In 2022, he assumed the role of acting director of the IT department. Carlo, you're welcome. Please take your floor. You are mute.
Here I am. I was concentrated on sharing the presentation. So thanks for the introduction. And I'm honored to join the series of seminars. Thank you very much for the invitation. I go the schedule is quite tight, so I'll go straight to the presentation. I will brief you basically on two systems. These are systems already in production in our environment using AI in the context of the legislative process. The first one is about a problem that is highly discussed and debated in AI, and actually very frequently taught as one of the basics, and is about bill classification. Bill classification implemented using machine learning. I won't enter the technical details of during the presentation because there is a paper which is freely downloadable by everyone. The link is in the slide, and we can share it on the chat. And the paper contains every detail about the implementation. The idea here is that the Italian Senate since 1996 classify, that is, labels every single article or of every single proposal of a single bill according to a thesaurus composed by more than 3,000 labels. This is basically made in order to allow the legislator to retrieve all the information about a given subject matter when he is drafting a new piece of legislation. And we classify all the bills from the Senate, from the Chamber of Deputies, also the decrees as well. So the initiative from the government. The classification was performed and is performed by a team of experienced employees. But of course, staff turnover creates some issue. And the idea to solve this issue is to use machine learning for building a tool. Because we have a huge wealth of examples. We have 25,000 examples of bill labeled with classifiers, and we can use this training set for building a machine learning tool. For technicians, and thanks to Giovanni for having introduced this concept, we have been using word embeddings, bidirectional neural networks, and transformer attention layer to implement the system. So this is the scenario before. Simply a human reads the article, knows the TSEO levels, the 3,400, and classifies the article or the whole bill according to the TSEO. What we have implemented is this new scenario. You see the graphical user interface in the bottom part of the slide. The bill article is first, let's say, read by the machine learning classifier. The machine learning classifier produces a set of suggestions. The human does a cherry picking among the suggestions proposed by the classifier, can integrate, modify the labels, and eventually commits the classification on our systems. The internals are quite complex. I won't stress them that much. We also use embeddings. We use Wikipedia to back, which is a very useful and freely available embedding. The bidirectional neural network is also, I mean, it's a complex compound that has been trained a couple of times. On top of the neural network, there is an attention layer. The attention layer is used to justify, to motivate the proposal of the system, to highlight in every article the words that are the reason for proposing a given label, a given classifier. And on top of this, we do the classification task. The performance are quite good. I will limit myself to say that using letting the system propose 15 classifiers, there is a high probability that more than one is correct. On the average, 4 or 5 classifiers are correct according to users, and users are quite happy in using the system because the classifier produces correct suggestions. We also have a huge application supporting the secretariats of the committees and of the plenary for amendments management. This application is running the Senate since 2013, if I'm not wrong, and covers a huge set of requirements. Among the requirements, there is ordering as well, and we cover it in a way similar to what Giovanni showed. We also cover similarity analysis in a way slightly different from what Giovanni shows. What is similarity analysis? Similarity analysis must be put in place when several political groups or several members propose similar amendments, that is similar modification to a given piece of law, and you don't want that the same modification is approved multiple times for procedural reasons, basically, and for not having to deal with the possible conflict within that can arise within this similar version of the modification. So what do? We put in place the Similis project, sorry, with the University of Roma 3, that is the name of the university, to group similar amendments for avoiding multiple approvals of the same modification. There is a paper on this work as well, and it's freely downloadable to everyone. How do we evaluate similarity? It's a not very complex computation that can be done on a simple PC in minutes, as long as you have to manage thousands of amendments. And basically, we transform every amendment in a vector. This is not done using embeddings in this scenario. It's done using the turn frequency algorithm, which is it's much easier than the algorithm using for embeddings. Then we apply cosine distance on these vectorized amendments. And then on top of the cosine distance, we apply an algorithm whose name is hierarchical agglomerative clustering. What is the result? The result, I can show the result very quickly on this screenshot of the graphical user interface. The user is proposed with similar amendments using the graphic metaphor of colors. So amendments that are similar are numbered and labeled with the same color. Then the user can click on 2 or 3 similar amendments and see a dynamic diff of the amendments. So you can evaluate if they are really different, or there is just, a small, or there is a relevant modification in them, even if the system states that they are similar. The performance are very good. We evaluated them making committee staff manually made clusters of amendments for some bills, and then comparing in an analytic way the cluster made by humans with the cluster made by the system. We also improved the algorithm using the observation that stem out from this difference analysis. A few concluding remarks. No decision in our system is taken without human oversight. So human is always in the loop and is also at the end of the loop. So the final word is from a human, is not from the machine. We care about explicability. The system we build show reason for the proposal they evaluate. So the human must be informed of the reason why the system is proposing a given choice. And we actually rely very much on open formats like Comatoso and RDF to foster developments. We have been, for instance, publishing a huge amount of data on GitHub, and we have been research centers. We have observed, research centers and universities using the data for making their own prototypes and proof of concept. So using open formats and open data helps very much developing new systems, and also systems in embedding, including artificial intelligence techniques. This concludes the presentation, and thank you very much.
Carlo, thank you so much. Many details. Once again, thank you. Our third presenter is my colleague, Ricardo Vilarins from Brazilian Chamber of Deputies. Having over 25 years in IT experience, encompassing the private and the public sectors, Ricardo works at the Directorate of Innovation and IT at the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies. He holds postgraduate degrees in telecommunications management, in IT governance, and in information architecture. Currently, Ricardo is responsible for the data science service while manages the data governance project at the Chamber. Ricardo, you are welcome. Please feel free to take your floor.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you to all colleagues participating in this event and all the audience as well. And since we have a tight schedule, let's go straight to the presentation. And I'm here to talk about some initiatives we have in the Brazilian Chamber regarding artificial intelligence solutions to be applied in parts of the legislative process. And we have this this program or this platform that we call Ulysses, that is our platform or our suite of AI algorithms that we've been developing since 2018, and currently this platform is comprised by eight different modules, and today we're going to talk about two of them. We're going to talk about Ulysses Module 2 and Module 3. So starting with Ulysses Module 2, just to explain the context of the application, we use Ulysses 2 to perform the task of selection, the consultant knowledge area to support bill writing, to draft bills. And in the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, there is a department of specialist consultants with the skills to write bill drafts and to produce study reports about matters related to the bills. As you can see in the right part of the picture here, this circle represents this department. And so those lawmaking experts are organized in 22 different knowledge groups that receive the demands submitted by the chamber members. And so in this scenario, prior to Ulysses 2 implementation, the demands were sent to this department, and it was directed first to a team of analysts whose job was to read each demand, the text of the demand, and this group of analysts was dedicated to decide which knowledge group should take the job. So the distribution of the demands were made by this first level analysts, and then all of this process was used to be highly dependent on this first level analyst perceptions and judgments, and exposing the process to risks of interpretation biases. That's our problem. And there are situations in which this task might get much more complex, mainly when one single demand addresses many different topics, increasing the risk of interpretation biases even more. So in the present time, we have a scenario with U2 already in production and working. And now the solution, when the demand gets to the department of the consultants, the solution reads the demand, and it suggests the three most highly ranked knowledge groups associated with the topics depicted from the demand text by the algorithm. So as you can see here in the figure in the center of the picture, you have three areas that are ranked by probability, and then there is still a person that makes this supervision to accept, or this person is assigned to accept or reject the suggestions presented by the algorithm. And in our experience, besides reducing biases, it also reduced time and people involved in the demand distribution task. So I think we've been experiencing an improvement on the performance of the process. And for this solution, we used some AI functions related to natural language processing and text classification. And from 2020 to 2022, we implemented using AI model based on logistic regression. And from this year on, we have implemented the algorithm with word-based model in Portuguese. And also we have some user-defined rules that actually don't use the AI functions, because when we were analyzing the needs and necessities and requirements of the user, we saw that there were some rules or some types of demands that had some already fixed routing in this workflow. So we have to combine this implementation in the module. And we have been experiencing also an improvement on the performance of this algorithm. If we check we have a snapshot here from 2022 and 2023, in which we saw a significant increase on the accuracy indicator and F1 score indicator, which shows the same. And then we see that how important it is. Sorry, I think. Oh, can you hear me all right? Okay, so we can see the importance of the data set, annotated data set size, and also the quality that we have increased the quality of the data set by having some data treatment and creating some of the demands that we use to train the model. So now going to Ulysses module 3. So the picture here is very similar to the previous one, but you can see that after receiving the demand, the consultant now can execute Ulysses 3 to search for similar studies and similar bills that could be useful for the new bill writing, for drafting the new bill that is associated with the demand, or even yet to detect the duplicities, because we can have different people making similar work that would result in redundant bills. And so this algorithm, we use this functions to semantic proximity, and then we have been using this this algorithm to find these documents that are similar to others that are already in our database. And here in this slide, we see that the algorithm, the Ulysses number 3, it shows the top ranked 12 similar bills and 12 similar demands. And there is interaction with the user that the user marks. It can check those that are relevant and those that are not. So this is the way that we can experiment the feedback from the user to retrain the model. And for this algorithm, we also use some AI functions related to natural language processing and document retrieval. In 2021 and 2020 to 2023, we applied the BM25L model plus expand query and name entity recognition. And 2020 and 2024 for this year and the next, we are applying the board-based model Portuguese plus expand query and name entity recognition. And we have also this this experience with this indicators. The feedback we are receiving actually from our users are very much positive with experience with the algorithm, you know, embedded in the process. So we are actually seeing a very promising future to this solution. Just explaining here one thing that one specific about enhancing the performance and the accuracy of the algorithm. We use the expand query function, which actually takes the search, the initial search made by the user, and the function adds other elements to the query to increase and to improve the accuracy of the results. And the main challenges we are facing now is to improve the culture of the organization, to have the engagement of the users, to provide feedback and to participate on this live process of developing AI solutions. And I think it's a challenge for everyone is to keep up with AI technology frequent advancements, that it's changing all the time, and we have to adapt and to find out the most valuable applications of this sort of technology into our business. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricardo, for sharing all the details. Thank you so much. Now, I have a few questions for you three. Questions that I selected from the most frequent ones that I received in the last years. And my first question goes to the first presenter, Giovanni. Giovanni, you have presented what you made to build the models. But before everything, I mean, before choosing or developing the AI model, which kind of treatment did you make in the legislative data to guarantee or even to improve the data quality? Please, tell us how it happened.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia, for your interesting question. Yes, data quality is a very important topic with the reference to artificial intelligence algorithms. The worst risk is to avoid the so-called garbage in, garbage out problem, in the sense that if you have data that is, for example, dirty or not clean, and then you run artificial intelligence model, the risk to have not so good output is very, very high. So with the reference to our project, we tried to solve the problem in the following way. Firstly, we as IT department, we wanted to offer web page for allowing users to insert data about amendments For example, the structure, the data like signers, article ID, and then a text box for the free text of the amendment. But this solution was not so good for our users because they preferred to use Word software, Microsoft Word. So we found a trade-off, and we prepared a Word template that allow users to insert structured data like signers and article ID, and then the free text for the amendment texts. Then users submit these Word templates, and then we have a parser that execute some checks, validity checks, for example, on signers, on article references. So currently this is our solution, but me and Carlo are working together on a new software, the so-called amendment writing machine, that will be a software that will allow user to produce automatically the amendment texts, starting from the modification done by users on bill texts. In this way, we will have the perfect syntax, and the next stages of the pipeline will run with the greater quality. So this is the possible evolution. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, thank you. Looking forward to see this new presentation, this new system. And my second question relates to partnerships with universities. If I'm not wrong, the Italian Senate as well, yes, we have made here in Brazil, in Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, has established a partnership with universities to build AI algorithms. So my question is for Ricardo and Carlo. Please tell us the most important requirements in public procurements that you'd suggest to be considered by parliaments that will follow the same path, establish partnership with universities. Ricardo, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's a very important issue that we have to, and it's a very valuable solution to have these agreements and all these partnerships. But in the procurement process, there are some really important requirements that we have to point out. First, we have to analyze the academic production and rate of academic production in the fields of NLP, natural language processing, and artificial intelligence in general. And that's we have to check that that rank and do some check some parameters about this point. And all the codes produced, all the codes developed, they've got to be opened in order to have this transfer of technology and knowledge as well. All source codes and references used in each phase of the research must be provided also to the Parliament. It's important also to establish in this relationship in all the project management procedures, to establish a frequent follow-up routine, maybe weekly, on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, involving the university team and the Parliament team as well. Another issue that we have to pay attention to is the privacy and security of data. So the researchers must sign responsibility or confidentiality terms and conditions to have access to non-public data or classified data. The Parliament must also apply some anonymization procedures also when dealing with classified data and sharing with university environment. Okay, so it is very important as well to decide whether the university either will be contracted for research and development of algorithms, or it will be contracted for long-term algorithm maintenance as well. It has to be very clear the scope of all the parts and activities that are going to be performed. What else? I think we have also, it's very important that the Parliament's IT team attend to at least a basic training in AI techniques, even in cases which the university fully assumes the development activity. In order to write the requirements, specifications, it's very important for the Parliament team to have all this training and this information. Otherwise, the risk of frustration with the procurement process might get significantly high. So I think those are the main points that I think we should pay attention to in this procurement procedures.
Thank you, Ricardo. Now, Carlo, what?
Thank you. I'm amazed. Thank you, Patricia. I'm amazed because actually I share very much of the opinion of Ricardo. I will limit to add something. First of all, university typically, at least in my experience, works in a very informal way with small teams, and it's very stingy on some technology issue, but it's not the subject that you can make responsible for running a system for the Parliament. So what we do basically with university is proof of concepts and prototypes. Actually, the system I've been showing for build classification and the related paper comes from a proof of concept, a prototype, built on a server of the university. And once we were actually certain that the service was working very well, because we sent some of our users to try to classify texts at the university with the professor, with the proper follow-up. Once we were sure that the system was working very well, we then started the technology transfer phase. The technology transfer phase is not that easy, because you need eventually you need to have your system brought in production with proper support, with proper technical assistance, with proper maintenance, with proper help desk services around it. And for having all this stuff, you cannot ask to put in place this service to the university. So you have to put in place company. You have to look for companies, and you have to manage the transfer of this knowledge from the university to the company. So what do? We typically ask for a good contractor. How to find a good contractor depends from country to country, from parliament to parliament, And we try to ask to a good contractor to start a contract with the university in order to make technology transfer. And because eventually we want to talk with a single subject that is responsible for the correct running of the system. So I don't want to be split. I don't want my brain to be split between managing the university and managing the contractor once the system is in production. So basically, this means that the technology transfer is a matter mainly of the contractor, of the good contractor. And the good contractor is as good as it manages well the technology transfer phase, And so the recommendation is to let the university do what they actually are good to do. That is proof of concept, scientific measurement, prototypes, and then use the market in order to build around them a good wrapping that can make your system, your innovative system, go in production.
Thank you, Carlo. Amazing, you both. Thank you so much. Back to Giovanni, who is responsible for the digital transformation of the legislative services. I imagine how many times, Giovanni, you had to exchange with the business units. The relationship between the IT unit and the business units by many researchers is considered a key point to a successful AI system. So may you tell us how did such a relation happen, considering the entire AI life cycle at the Italian Chamber?
Thank you, Patricia. Yes, the relationship between IT unit and so-called business unit is very important. In my opinion, is the key point to reach the project goal. In our case, the solution was pretty simple because Italian Chamber of Deputies top management pushed a lot on digitalization of legislative sector. So the collaboration among different units was simplified by the fact that the top management was pushing on it. With regarding to our project, we involved business users starting from the beginning of the project. So starting from requirements elicitation, because we needed to go deep on requirements on what they needed. Then we brought together the requirement documents because we had the support of advanced data analytic lab of a private company. So we needed to formalize in a written document the requirements. Then we involved our business users for the model evaluation, because when we executed the training of the model, then we needed to evaluate the accuracy. As I told before, the evaluation was only qualitative, in the sense that our business users that had experience of many years, maybe 20 years working on amendments, analysis, reordering, and so on, they are the most experienced in Italy in this task. So it was a pretty interesting dialogue. So this is my answer. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you, Giovanni. A strong partnership. And back to Carlo, a question that always comes is regarding people. How did the Italian Senate improve its skills and its structure to develop and support AI systems? Carlo, please.
Thank you, Patricia. As for the skills, first of all, you know, the relationship with university automatically brings some advantage, because they invite you to talk, speeches, seminars, debates, and we used to join them. We used to participate in these seminars, and we take a huge wealth of advantages from participating to this kind of initiatives. We don't limit ourselves to join initiative from the university, of course. We are in touch with research centers. We work very much with the National Research Center. CNR is the acronym, and they are also organized frequent events they are also managing some databases for the Italian Parliament since many years, and this relationship has created the opportunity to work with them as well. There are a couple of institutes of the CNR that are actually working on legislative issues since more than 25 or 30 years, if I'm not wrong. And we also go to, we used to participate to seminars of company, for instance, of course, of companies, not all the companies, but those that that we deem relevant for our businesses, for our objectives. For instance, of course, Microsoft is very much pushing on their investments in OpenAI, and we have attended to a couple of seminars, and mainly in order to start doing some experiments with them. So we would like to test a large language model in a couple of scenarios. Some of them have been touched by Fotis, that I very much thank for. And then the second part of the question was about the organization. If we change the organization, the first is on skills and the second is on the internal organization of the IT department. Actually, we didn't change the organization of the IT department. Since many years, our developers are used to work on some pet projects. The pet project, like, you know, Google used to call them pet project, are the projects of the developers. It's like having a small kitten, for instance, and having to raise a small kitten to your pet. So some of them raise kittens, let's say so. Some of the kittens are AI projects sometimes, but this is something we have been doing since over the last 20 years with several families of technologies. 20 years ago, we were working with document management systems, as you know, the innovation for the parliament, putting them aside to databases. Then we moved to ERPs, you know, sometimes business intelligence, and so on. And now we are working in this way, raising this kitten, doing these pet projects with companies working in AI. But this is part of our organization since many years.
Thank you, Carlo. Now, Ricardo, something that always appears to me, how do you deal with the dilemma between developing unique new models and reusing open source models? Please.
All right. Thank you. In our scenario, I would say that there is no dilemma about this issue for us, actually, because we always reuse and customize open source models at our convenience. What we do is that we perform tests using open source machine learning libraries. And in addition to that, for each downloaded pre-trained model, and we download those models from open sites that, and I can share also the link here in the chat that we use to one of them to download these models, and we evaluate them, and eventually we fine-tune when needed. So I would say that we never develop an algorithm fully from scratch. So I think this is something that we've been learning, that interoperability is very important for us to, you know, build services that or build interfaces that consumes already services and models that are already trained. And what we do is just we try to, if needed, we try to retrain the model with some of our data sets to make the solution more to adapt it to our need in our organization. So I'd say that I think that we've been developing labs and all the experiences with algorithms, because actually it, as I said in the presentation, to keep up with all these advancements that occurs every day, I think we have to actually be very pay very much attention to what is already in the market, was already done and available for us to take advantage of. I'll share the link here in the chat if it's possible.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. I have here a few questions from the chat. In advance, thank you so much for put your question there. Our first question came from Parliament of Ukraine. It is for Carlo. What is the approximate file size of the models? How long does it take to train this model on textual materials from scratch?
Yeah, the model is smaller than BERT. We are actually evaluating an upgrade to BERT. So we are not dealing with large language model with billions or trillions of parameters. We are dealing with models having thousands or hundred thousands of parameters. The name of the model that we are using now is Zero Bigru L1, which can be trained on a standard server in a couple of days. Upgrading the server or upgrading model can reduce the time of the training. Let me say that we observed that more than the upgrade of the model, what is actually needed in our system is to upgrade the embeddings, the word embeddings. I'm assuming now of talking to people with technical skills, because the language in some cases evolves much faster than the computational model. I will make an example. When the pandemic start out, a lot of new terms arose, and these new terms actually changed the relationship within words in the sanitary sector. And in order to have the system work very well while classifying health-related stuff, we had to retrain the model. Basically, this system has been built before of the pandemic, okay, before large language model took place and so on. And so in my experience, it's important to train and to retrain the model, but it's also at the same time very important to keep aligned let's say your vectors to the language. And the way to keep aligned the vectors to the language is to upgrade the embeddings.
Thank you, Carlo. A second question is open to anyone that of you three that want to answer. It came from Javi from South Africa. Has any parliament's participant in the seminar considered OpenAI or Copilot when embarking on the AI journey? Who wants to answer?
I can repeat.
Carlo,
yeah,
please.
Yes, the answer basically is yes. For instance, we discovered that both these technologies are very good at doing summaries, and we have some departments that do a lot of summaries for their activities. So we are evaluating the summarization capability of the systems against the styles that of these departments. So the answer is yes, we are evaluating these systems, especially because they are pretty ready-made. So you only have to do tests. You don't have to develop anything. It is very seductive under the point of view of the IT department. Of course, you pay the seduction because it's a black box. You cannot enter the details. You have always to be, how to say, to care about the problems typical of these systems, and you have to train your users about these problems, which is not easy. So the evaluation is ongoing. It is not everything. It is not. You cannot give for granted the functionality of this system for a parliament, but they are absolutely interesting and deserves a careful look on our side by ourselves.
Thank you, Carlo. Third question from Parliament of Ukraine to Giovanni. Could you give a brief comment on how conversation of semantics to vector works? Giovanni?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's very interesting. The answer is a bit technical in the sense that there are different ways that you can follow to solve the task, from the easiest to the more difficult ones. For example, starting from the text, there are some techniques. For example, the simplest is the bag of words, that means to transform the text as array vector, vector formed by numbers, numbers that are linked to the frequency. So there are some metrics like term frequency or inverse document frequency. So some metrics that you can use to evaluate the frequency of words represented by numbers. And in this way, you can use some metrics like cosine similarity. There are a lot of metrics so that you can compare these vectors. In our example, we decided to use word2vec, that is a model. It is an artificial neural network formed by 2 layers. And you can see this model like a black box, in the sense that you can import this model inside your Python project, and then you can compute. You can compute the distance, the similarity between texts simply by importing GenSim library and call some simple function in the code. The most interesting part is to train the model. For example, if you want to personalize, because you can find a lot of pre-trained model, but for example, in our scenario, we live in a legislative world, so we needed to customize our model, and as told by Carlo, the topics are changing. For example, before COVID pandemic, COVID was not a word so common, for example, or pandemic. So yeah, it's a very interesting part. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni. Another question to Fotis. Fotis, it came from Parliament of Ukraine. How do you see approaching the compensation from usual process to implement the prompts?
Yes, prompting is a very interesting feature, and it's a highly engineered one, meaning that we can build add-ons on ChatGPT, for instance, to make our prompts more specific, make our prompts more targeted, and make them fine-tune them towards our legal or legislative output. But this is something that we need to train or fine-tune our system too. We have been building systems, and maybe you can come directly to us. We have been building systems on top of the ChatGPT through the accessing it through its API, through which we can interestingly facilitate legislative output according to specific guidelines. So this is something that can be engineered. It might be different from parliament to parliament, but in any case, it is something that can be done.
Thank you, Fotis. Another question came from Ivory Coast, Mr. Dosso. It is open to everyone that wants to answer. What are the ethical implications of delegating certain legislative tasks to machine rather than humans? Who wants to answer? Carlo? Feel free.
Yeah, just to stress the fact that we are not delegating tasks to the machine. We are using the machine to support humans in our settings. I don't see ethical implication in using technology for assisting our users, because we are not changing the way in which they work. We are in a radical way. We are just supporting them, making their work more efficient, allowing them to focus and concentrate on, let's say, on specific issues, while the machine release them from the burden of, maybe analyzing too much, something that is has already been analyzed in the past. But the pattern in our case, in our setting, is human in the loop and human at the end of the loop, I would say. So no decision and no choice is taken without that the human takes a responsibility on it. And so I would say that at least in our settings, these ethical implications are yet to come. There's no point in putting on the table this problem at the moment. Maybe in future, if we will find systems so reliable, so explicable, so transparent, we will be able to discuss this issue. But maybe now is early for the kind of application we do in our administration.
Thank you, Carlo. Dear, we have more questions, and we are so happy for them, but time is worrying us. We have a second roundtable. So I promise those that have sent the questions for this first roundtable and they were not answered yet, we will answer them by email, right? And thank you for having sent. Starting our second roundtable regarding AI used for voice-to-text transcription. For that, I would like to invite three colleagues. Ahto, Christopher Henry, and Eero Voutilainen. Ahto from Parliament of Estonia. After a long experience in the IT private sector since 2014, Ahto is Administrative Director at the Chancellery of the Riigikogu, the Parliament of Estonia. He is responsible for the design, execution, and oversight of IT solutions, as well as all requirements for the Riigikogu to carry out its duties, physical and digital infrastructure. Ahto, you're very welcome. Christopher Henry. Christopher is the Director of Digital Business Enablement at the House of Commons of Canada. For over 25 years, he has been leveraging software engineering, enterprise architecture, and data and analytics to bridge gaps towards a digital business culture in the Parliament of Canada, in the House of Commons of Canada. Christopher, you're very welcome. And Eero Voutilainen from Parliament of Finland. Eero is a senior specialist in the Records Office of the Finnish Parliament. With his colleagues, He transcribes and edits the member's speech in plenary session for the official report. He is specialized in the editorial principles and practices of parliamentary transcription. Eero is also the editor-in-chief of Tyro, the Journal of Professional Reporting and Transcription, published by Inter-Parliamentary. Eero, you're very welcome. And for you, I will follow the same criteria. I selected a few questions that I often receive from parliaments concerning voice-to-text transcription. And I would like to start with the beginning, the beginning of everything, when you are planning, when you are selecting an IT solution to that. My first question goes to Christopher, Eero, and Ricardo. How was the process of researching and selecting a voice-to-text service to your parliament? Which variables did you consider? Christopher, please.
Well, thank you so much, Patricia, for the great question, and thanks to all our other participants earlier. First thing I'll remark is Canada has a lot to learn from our colleagues, and we're eager and here to learn from so much of the amazing things we've seen today. But I am happy to share what we've accomplished so far as it pertains to researching and selecting these voice-to-text services. And our journey began back in 2022, so not too far ago, just a year, with an overview of all of the major vendors in the marketplace that we were seeking some partnerships to determine, number one, what was available in the market, and what were the high-level pros and cons, or fits and gaps, as we call it, of these capabilities from our needs, and obviously to assess the competitive advantages. So with that, we targeted a short list of some of these vendors and looked at their ability to support our environment, for which, like fellow parliaments, we have some fairly unique constraints with languages. And here in Canada, we have a French and English official language system. So we were looking for, obviously, capabilities around accuracy, compatibility of their solutions with our digital ecosystem. And then from there, our team evaluated each of these offerings based on the accuracy when processing audio from our own parliamentary meetings. We also evaluated the vendors' other capabilities like resiliency, support, pricing, data security, and of course, due to the data security, some of the sensitivities of an on-premise and or cloud offering. We were looking for both sides of the equation. And lastly, any features that would distinguish them, make them stand out from their competitors, such as custom dictionaries, areas to help improve the accuracy, like the members' names, how models are being trained. We heard a lot about that this morning. And the cadence of which they refresh their models. We've seen tremendous accuracy improvements month over month. From that, we reached out to also various peer organizations, some of them on this panel with us today, to discuss potential bespoke solutions. So some specialized creations were already in play in some of our partners around the world. We were eager to see if we could leverage them. Many solutions were able to provide accurate speaker detection when members of parliament were assigned their own audio channel. However, we couldn't benefit from this advantage due to some constraints on our side of how we currently record audio. From there, those candidates that were best seen to fit our organization from these contexts, we proceeded with a pilot. And with our close partnership to our internal business partners, we evaluated all the productivity gains that we could see here. So from these, we did some testing against our committee meetings and plenary sessions, and asked our existing team of in-house transcribers to review and edit this text generated by the AI systems we were piloting. And we wanted to benchmark that level of quality that we would aim for already, that our clients have been accustomed to. And so from there, we selected segments of text, of audio that had the same individuals that worked on both the AI-enabled version and the classic version we've been doing, so that we could compare how much time would be saved with the transcription produced by both systems, if you will. And based on these tests, our current rendition is that the technology leveraged through AI has given us productivity gains of approximately 23% faster time to complete the transcription step of the workflow. And month over month, we're getting higher and higher results, both by the technology and our human workforce ability to work with it. So I'll stop there and let my other colleagues have a moment to discuss too.
Thank you, Christopher. Now, Eero, please, how was the whole process of researching and selecting a voice-to-text transcription service in your parliament?
Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me? Yes, wonderful. Before we got the AI-based automatic speech recognition system, in short ASR, we had followed the field for years by listening to pitches by the key Finnish companies, for example. We also gave them easy access to our speech and transcript material so that they could develop and test their products with our material and kind of target their product to us. In October 2019, we began a proof of concept with 2 central ASR providers to test their systems and to figure out how we would use ASR and how we would need for it to work, whatever system we would choose at the end. We have this proof of concept phase for 1.5 years up until June 2021. The process was lengthened because of COVID and because we had to test the system in how it works with remote work as well. This phase was important for us because during it, everyone in the office learned to use this new way of work with AI. Finally, in March 2021, we established a cross-administrative group whose job was to prepare an official tender process to acquire the AI system for automatic speech recognition. The group included parliamentary editors, ICT specialists, and some administrative staff. And the group also developed the official criteria for the acquisition. These criteria included cost, security, quality, and speed. As the most important ones. The weighing between cost and quality was 40-60 for the benefit of quality. The quality was observed with the word error rate, WER, which is a very much used method. And the threshold was 90% accuracy for a system to pass for the tender process. And for the security, it was considered important that the cloud service had to exist in the EU region. Other features that we required were that the system would be teachable and learn from the texts and audio that it gets. The speech recognition should work from live sound and from audio files, whatever was more usable. It had to work remotely with VPN. It had to be able to process multiple hour audio files, and it should have a user-definable post-processing rules. At least it should be workable with those. In September 21, there was an official request for tender with these criteria. In December 21, we made the decision, and in February 22, we had the official launch. So we also have not used this for a very long time. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Thanks.
Thank you, Eero. And Ricardo, may you tell the audience how we've made here in the field?
Yeah, thank you. It's great to hear from the colleagues, their experience, and see that we are all, struggling with the same problems, and we have actually dealt with these points that are really important about text-to-speech. And here in the chamber in Brazil, we have a great need on this field, actually, because we have a huge team of stenographers and people that take notes, and they have to review those notes and do all these transcriptions. And so here in the chamber is a very strategic solution. So we started last year, maybe 2021. We start making some studies. And first, we performed a business requirement elicitation to raise all the needs and to identify, understand the needs of the business and the volume that we were supposed to contract and to in the acquisition process. And to understand the solution specs to go to market and build the parameters to compare the available solutions. So we will elaborate a preliminary technical study. We made this report that considers accuracy and error rates. Also, how are the figures? We also, based on the volume, we compare costs and pricing. And one thing that's very important in our experience is how we're going to integrate the solution with our in-house systems. So interoperability is a very important point that we considered in the requirement list. So the solution has to offer APIs that we can consume here with our development team to adapt the existing systems that are already in production to make use of these functionalities and the features. And other item that we are worried with is the processing speed of the operational speed of the algorithms, and also how we deal with the privacy issues, because we have some sessions and in committees or that there might be classified, and so we also have some requirements regarding privacy issues. So we have initiated the procurement procedure, and then this year we started using the service, which we have experienced some impressive performance in most cases. There are some challenges that are more environmental challenges, like the nature of how our sessions are organized. Sometimes it's very hard for a solution to get like 12 microphones opened at the same time and people speaking at the same time. So the capability of the tool to sort out this type of problem is also something that's very challenging for us. But so far, we've been experiencing very good results. And we are seeing that this technology here for us, it's always embedded in the Ulysses platform. It's Ulysses number 5. And then we are already monitoring the service to evaluate how we're going to launch the next procurement procedure for next year. So, but basically the items are, or the requirements are error rates and accuracy, costs, interoperability, processing speed, and privacy. those are the main issues we have to solve. Thank you.
Ricardo, thank you, thank you. Yes, a lot of details. After having selected the second part, according to people from whose I exchanged, is all the work to guarantee that the transcription is acceptable. And I remember that Ahto exchanged with me a long time. Ahto has a long experience with it. So I'd like to invite Ahto for the second question. Ahto, please, how much time did your parliament work to refine the entire AI source in a way to reach an acceptable performance? Please tell us how did it happen?
Okay, thank you. I will quite shortly. So the complexity of this kind of project consisted in the joint work for various parties and integration with our existing system. So we typically employ a high level of automation to conserve resources and time for us. So the development of the software spanned approximately 18 months. I can't say is it much or is it too short. And after that, we spend 6 months of dedicating to the testing and debugging. So it's approximately a little bit less than 2 years. It's quite fast, I think. And of course, this very crucial aspect was also the creation of this language model, which also required over the 1,600 hours of trained material. And this training was also outsourced. So basically, we are outsourcing everything that is a matter of the creating the code, creating the software. So we do not have any implementation in-house. So I believe it was quite short. Maybe not too short for everyone, but 2 years it took from our life.
2 years, yeah, okay. Thank you. I also would like to listen to Christopher in his experience to improve the quality of the transcription. Please, Christopher.
Well, kind of like Ahto, mine will be quite short too and brief, because I think the question was quite clear in terms of how long it took. And I think the bigger takeaway is how long will we continue to refine? Because I think nobody is done with this right now. We're all in very early stages of refinements and improving. But I'll share our journey so far. So it's only been about a 4-month period that we worked diligently on what I'll say is that research and options analysis period, where we had various levels of activity. So the way we assigned the work in our teams was a dedicated prime resource, which was a senior developer, to lead this analysis and immerse themselves in all aspects, from the technology to all of our business requirements, so that they could really focus with no disruptions, as little disruption as possible. And throughout this process, our teams worked in a close model with our senior developers and our senior technology strategists to report on the findings and guidance in a very iterative fashion, so that we could quickly move toward ruling out certain vendors or technology types and move towards the ones that were more viable. And like I said in my previous answer, we did target one for proof of concept. And the approach we took was to take roughly 400 minutes of audio, equally represented by our committee proceedings as well as our plenary debates from the chamber. And again, of course, in French and English. And we worked, as I said, with 2 groups of transcribers to compare the productivity when supported by AI and to baseline those established production operations scenarios. So the short answer was roughly a month time to reach that level of performance that we felt hit the mark of more viable, if you will, to proceed than to pause.
A continuous process, yes. My next question relates to the identity of the speaker. And I would like to listen to Ahto and Eero regarding how they recognize the speaker, the speaker voice in their plenary sessions. Please, Eero.
Yes, thank you. I have taken a liberty to kind of redirect the question, because the kind of key quality in our system is that it doesn't recognize the voice of the speaker. It's a speaker independent system, and it's intended to be used by many. It's intended to work evenly with 200 MPs, regardless of the voice, and it has to be used with by all of our 23 reporters. We are not using the re-speaking system, which would benefit from learning about the voice of a certain speaker. So in the end, we decided not to recognize the voice per se, but we have an even quality with all of our speakers with the system.
And Ahto, please, your experience with.
So yes, our system recognizes over 200 distinct voices, including the MPs, the Prime Minister, various ministers, and other guests who is attending to the plenary hall. However, sometimes errors can occur. For instance, a person with maybe flu-altered voice, maybe not correctly recognized by the system sometimes. And in similarly, simultaneous speech of excessive noise in the hall can make it challenging to identify the speaker accurately. But no, in these cases, even the human cannot identify who is speaking exactly sometimes. And but it will usually corrected by the editors. To mitigate this issue, we have integrated our plenary voting system, which provides more accurate information about the current speaker. And only unresolved issue pertains to the chairman, who has the liberty to interject comments or call the hall to the order at any time when he wants. And such interventions can lead to also errors, and these are subsequently corrected by the editors again. So we have, of course, some kind of mistakes, but all the editors will correct them. And if the systems needs to learn new voice of recognition, we have created a quick solution. This involves using an existing audio from which an appropriate length segment is automatically extracted and forwarded to the system for the identification. And then all the AI magic happens. And when somebody takes this takes some minutes, and after the new person is already know the system. So when it comes next time to the hall, the system already knows the new person. So some AI magic happens again there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Eero, do you want to talk?
Yes, if I have some seconds left, I forgot to mention the reason that we don't have the voice recognition system. It's mainly because our plenary session system already has the speakers recognized, because they all have their own dedicated microphones and they are named in our system. So there is no a reason for the AI to recognize the voices. At least that's our vision about it. But yeah, nothing more to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. It is a huge challenge, because it's not only a voice recognition service, it's a voice recognition, it's voices recognition, discussing at the same time. Thank you so much. My second question relates to closed caption, a functionality often used as a result of the transcription. I would like to listen to Ahto and Giovanni regarding how, if they use and how have they used closed caption. Ahto, please.
Yes, thank you. So yes, we use this software is similar to the transcription software, and this is for automatic subtitles feature, let's say that in that way. And we use it since from 2021, when the Italian University of Technology pioneered this development of an automatic subtitle software. So, and initially the software was incorporated into our remote session tools that we used during the COVID time, and subsequently extended to our plenary session broadcasts and also the YouTube stream. So this was particularly beneficial, as YouTube does not currently offer support for Estonian language subtitles so far. It's not making them. And the same technology has been adopted by the Estonian national television now. And they integrated it in numerous live broadcasts and the new programs. So, and I think it's important to note that only generated subtitles may contain errors, hence this inclusion of relevant text. So the chancellery of the review does not guarantee the absolute accuracy of the subtitles, which are primarily intended to assist those who are with some hearing impairments in accessing basic information. For comprehensive understanding, we also recommend referring to this session transcript. So this is also written everywhere where we use this automated subtitles, that we are not responsible. This is done by machine, and if you need correct text, then just go and see the transcripts. Thanks.
Thank you, Ahto. Giovanni, in your case, in the Italian chamber?
Yes, thank you, Patricia. Yes, we've been using it since December 2021. We introduced the closed caption functionality for all plenary sessions. Instead, for committees and some special events, we, in particular cases, we used WebEx subtitles, but for very few cases. And for plenary sessions, we use Cabolo appliance. That is an appliance which takes in input audio from the plenary session, and then thanks to a Roland matrix, there is a sort of composition of video and subtitles, so that the final output is the final video with the subtitles. And a few words about our requirements. We simply wanted to increase accessibility. We wanted to minimize the delay time. And we wanted to reach a good trade-off between functionality and cost. And by using that technology, we buy some packets of hours of usage. And the payment is euros per hours. And we have a web-based console by which we can download, we can check all the data, all the documents in different formats like docx, HTML, MP3 for audio, and SRT, which is the format for subtitling. And is this. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you, thank you. In a few parliaments, in a few countries, there is compliance. There is a lot of compliance related to the time to the caps lock, related to accessibility, and people are running to implement it. And my last question, try to ask you to look at the future. I would like to invite Christopher, Carlo, and Eero to say if you plan to integrate new functionalities to your voice-to-text transcription. Carlo, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, we are working on a new project, and sorry for insisting. There is a paper also on this project. If you want, I can share the link for accessing the paper. Basically, the project starts from the observation that we have a lot of legacy videos on the web TV of the Senate, which are not indexed. They are not accessible in a indexed way. We say that they are flat. So if a user is interested, for instance, in a statement of a specific senator during the sittings, he has, in principle, to watch the whole video to spot when the senator made a statement. This is the meaning. They have no metadata, basically, and there is no indexing according to the minutes. So how do we plan to solve this problem? Luckily, we have the XML version of the reports for all these sittings. In the XML version of the report, call it answers, call it minutes, every single statement of every single senator and every single event that took place during the sitting is indexed, is markup, actually. There is a markup for that event. So the idea is to exploit the answer, the minutes. How? It's not that easy. First, we do the speech-to-text of the audio of the video. Doing speech-to-text allows us to associate to each word that is pronounced in the assembly a timestamp. Then, using AI, here is back the AI magic, we use a set of algorithms whose name is sequence alignment to align the speech-to-text with the answered. Doing this alignment allows us to associate to each element that is markup, to each statement, to each chain of presidency markup in the report. We can associate a timestamp. That is the timestamp of the words that are close to the words of the speech-to-text, having done sequence alignment. And so we obtain a doped version of the minutes or the answered, in which there are timestamps for the events. And this will allow us to treat this legacy of videos as we used to publish, to treat the current video of the sittings. Because if a user goes to the website of the Senate and of the Chamber of Deputies as well, today he can point and click on a statement of a senator over the minutes and listen and watch to the video of the sitting at the corresponding time. And so we are using AI and sequence alignment to recover this kind of functionality also for legacy videos, basically. This is a way in which we plan to use this technology in our settings.
Thank you. Christopher, plans for the future?
Yes, thank you, Patricia. It's worthwhile to mention in a broader perspective, on this question, around voice-to-text services and other functionalities in the legislative process, is that we're working with parliamentary research teams, such as colleagues we were discussing with today from Greece and Germany, to identify and prioritize compelling use cases for AI in general, but also specifically for voice-to-text. Internally, we're working very closely with our partners in procedural service leadership team to develop an AI strategy and plan to prioritize some of these investments in the coming years. And for specific to voice-to-text, once our initial AI-enabled capabilities have been onboarded into our organization in a production operations capacity, we have other services that we're seeing that could benefit from these technologies and maximize this return of our investment. One compelling use case we're seeing is, actually, before I mention that, I should note that due to the volatility we've been seeing in a lot of the emerging vendors and advancements that are making, from a foundational aspect, we've invested in a platform-based approach in terms of allowing connectivity, or what we call hot swapping, of certain augmented AI vendor engines, so that when we do the integrations, such as the APIs into our existing digital ecosystem, we're not at a risk perspective from those specialized vendors. We're more plugging and playing them into a platform approach, so that we have a little bit of risk mitigation on the uncertainty of that we're all seeing of even what a year-over-year landscape looks like. So back to where I was leaving you with, is where we see our next concrete target is, I think, no surprise, it's what we've been discussing today, is after transcription, it's closed captions is really the low-hanging fruit that we've seen as something very ripe. And it'll address a double benefit for our organization in our commitment and legislative requirement around accessibility, so enabling more accessible services for Canadians and any participants in our proceedings. Now, beyond that, if we kind of look at beyond just pure voice-to-text, but a close adjacency, again, the drafting of legislation, so bills and all things around the process of enabling dictation and other aspects for our drafters to produce and deliver quality legislation quicker with AI services is certainly something we're exploring there as well. And even more beyond this, of just beyond voice to text, we're really starting to see many potential use cases for AI offerings across our service areas. And just today, I've learned much more than we had anticipated. So I'll certainly be reaching out to some colleagues and eager to have more exchanges, thanks to the IPU here.
Thank you. Eero, plans? What are your plans?
Thank you. I have to refer to earlier speakers that my plans are continuously evolving. Even listen to all you guys, I think I've already changed many of my plans. But yeah, this is constantly evolving. It's very exciting. We already have established the timestamps linked to the linking the speech and text. So we have automatically synchronized transcript with the video. This we already have on our website, and we are looking forward to developing it so that it would serve more as a kind of it could be developed more into the direction of captions, so that it would be more like this karaoke thing connected with the video, so that it would help more the people who need closed captions. So it's a kind of another kind of taking a curve to the closed captions. We're also looking at well, all sorts of things that could help us in this area. Then we have also just recently we have integrated the integrated the automatic speech recognition to our recording system, so that we don't have to go to a separate website to press record, so that we just press a button on a recording system that we want these, for example, these 4 speeches recognized. So we press the button, we get that as text, and we can copy that to our text processing software. And the next phase that we have is that we would like that to go directly to our text processing software. We use Adobe FrameMaker, which makes an XML structured document. So we want to cut out the middleman, so to speak, to have the recognized speech go directly into the FrameMaker for us to use. That's our next phase, technically, considering the process. Also, we are looking forward, because Finland is a bilingual country. We have 2 official languages, Finnish and Swedish. We are looking forward to have a high quality Swedish ASR as well. We currently don't have it. It would be of much use to have it. And also, since we have plenary hall interpreters doing consecutive interpreting from Swedish to Finnish, in every case there are Swedish speeches, so it would also help them to have a kind of ASR produced notes of each Swedish speech, so that they could have them as notes when they do the consecutive interpretation of them in Finnish. But yeah, we are also actively following new solutions that could possibly be used in drafting and editing bills and other official documents. We have also tried a little bit to use the AI solutions to help, create plain language out of the initial very complicated language of the law, kind of simplify the language. And we have interesting, it's very preliminary, but we have interesting early results that AI can be used to develop the official legal texts into something that are more inclusive to all the citizens, more clear and understandable.
Thank you. Many plans, a lot of work, a lot of fun. Thank you so much. We have one question to Eero. It came from Marcy Harris from Fox. Let me see here. How was the experience of engaging human transcribers to evaluate digital transcription? Do you feel threatened, or are they defensive about incorporating those new tools? How is the institution thinking about the change management and supporting people? Christopher.
Yes, certainly the human element is a very important one to always measure. I think we all have seen the tremendous challenge, but opportunities of change that AI is bringing. Really a paradigm shift here we're all part of. And we can't forget about our fellow colleagues in the organizations we serve. And really, I'll speak specifically here about Canada in our approach at the House of Commons with our trans editors, our transcribers in the journey that we're taking. The first message we've always stated from the beginning was our exploration here in terms of productivity improvements are not purely based on a situation of cost reduction for the workforce aspect, meaning the jobs and the employees themselves that are performing the work currently manually or without the AI-enabled technology. So the message we've been giving is this is a value improvement and augmentation of the tool set that will enable them to shift and move to higher value aspects of their roles, which allows for more time for editing and quality, and to ensure consistency of the text that we produce through the augmentation of these tools. And the other pressure we're facing generally as a society, I think all our colleagues could recognize this, is that these types of jobs are becoming harder to staff. It's just not a workforce that is as abundant as it was in the past in terms of stenographers and typists and trans editors, transcribers, however you wish to call it, and folks generally in education and other emerging fields of study are moving to higher value work types. So it is something we're seeing as a pressure to acknowledge in terms of retention and acquisition of staff, and the increasing pressures of the service delivery expectations from our members of parliament to stay within the service level agreements we have for producing our documents. And when you add up all these factors, AI is just simply at the right place at the right time to help us adjust and maintain our service quality. But the change management, if I get back to specifically, is one that we're hyper cognizant of and working very closely with our HR teams and the workforce itself. And I have to commend my partners who may be joining us today in procedural services for really doing the lion's share of the work here, as these are their personnel that they're closely bringing on this journey with us. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you to Christopher. It was amazing to exchange with you. Simply amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I do hope, I do believe that the rich contributions can help parliaments to improve themselves for providing AI services, or even to solve a few obstacles while they are developing or writing public procurements for AI services. I would like to pass the floor to Ludovic to make the final remarks.
Yeah, Patricia, thank you very much. And dear colleagues, thanks a lot for all your presentation, intervention, questions. This has been a real pleasure. Both with Patricia, we would like to warmly thank the interpreters who worked during this session, but also the staff from the CIP who supported us in the organization of this webinar. And again, I would deeply like to thank Patricia from the Parliamentary Data Science Hub, who organized this session and moderated it with all the colleagues involved. Thank you very much. What we did this year is that we went through several topics. We started in May with cloud computing. We continued in June with legislative work driven by data. We moved to September with digital services for members. Today we are in artificial intelligence, and we will move a little bit later on to digital transformation, leadership, and governance. So these were all the thematics that we discussed all together throughout this year. I will make sure to move the floor to Andy Williamson for the next part and the next webinar. But this has been a real pleasure together with Patricia, again, from Parliamentary Data Science Hub, and myself from the IT Governance Hub, to animate and moderate these sessions with you. We hope we will be in a position next year to follow up on these activities with new ambitious projects and putting you together in relationship over the thematics that belong to both of our hubs. In any case, thank you very much for your presence, for your time, your availability. We also need your input in terms of evaluation. So my colleague Avinash Bika just posted a form that we kindly invite you to fill, so that we can have feedback on the session and to improve it for the future. So again, thank you very much. This was a very interesting debate, many ideas and a lot to do, as we have seen on the last moments with what will be proposed for the time to come. Thank you very much. And Andy, the floor is yours.
Thank you to Patricia, Ludovic, and all of the participants in today's webinar on behalf of the IPU, I'd like to thank everyone, but also to try and make some additional connections. I'm going to post in the chat. I'm trying to post something that's too long. I'm going to post it in pieces. One of the things that we try and do at the IPU is to make linkages between parliaments. That's what's happening here today, with so many practical examples around use cases in parliaments on AI, but also trying to make linkages between the different levels. And within the IPU, this conversation around AI in Parliament, AI in democracy is taking place at different levels. So at the political level, this is the first series of links that I've just posted to very recent political events with a strong AI focus. And just 3 days ago, at the closing of the IPU Assembly, which took place in Angola, the IPU, through its Standing Committee on Democracy and Human Rights, placed on its agenda a subject on the impact of AI on democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, which guarantees that we will continue the exchange with parliamentarians, building capacity, building understanding about AI governance, legislative frameworks for the 12 months to come, and certainly beyond that. At a second level, posted a link to work that the ASGP, the Association of Secretaries General, is doing right now, a study led by the Clerk of the Senate of the Netherlands about, from the Secretary General's perspective, how AI is being incorporated and how it's going to change the work of the parliamentary administration. So there are some initial survey results, but also some papers from the UK, from Germany, from Egypt as well. I missed the link from Egypt. I'll post that. So at the political level, at the level of SGs, here's the Egypt link. And last, but hopefully not least, within our own Centre for Innovation in Parliament, it's the network that's meeting here today, which has had so many excellent high-level exchanges in the course of this year and previous years. Just flagging, as my colleague Avinash did earlier, the issue of the Innovation Tracker published 2 weeks ago, with contributions from different countries, different parliaments on AI in parliaments, and also looking ahead to the next webinar in this Transforming Parliament series around digital transformation, as a companion, as a partner to the recently published IPU ASGP guide to digital transformation in parliaments. Point being here, so many things are moving in this area. It's wonderful that we've been able to have this conversation today. The only thing that we can be certain of is that this issue is going to continue to evolve, that if we, or when we come back in 12 months from now, the conversation will be different in ways that we don't yet know exactly. We hope that we will continue to have grown in our knowledge and use of AI in parliaments. And I'd like to end just by observing that this is, to my mind, an incredibly valuable form of inter-parliamentary exchange and cooperation. And so to thank Patricia Almeida from the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, Ludovic Delepine from the European Parliament, and all of the other people who have been involved in organizing and facilitating the exchange through these webinars and in other formats, and to say how much we look forward to continuing the exchange in 2024 and beyond. So with that, I close the webinar. Thank you, and we look forward to the next time, 27th of November and beyond, in our exchanges. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.